I think right since Saturday there at Oklahoma State, and just all of the lessons learned and all of the accountability and all of the film to look at that's hard to look at. I think since that, whether it's Saturday night back on the plane or it's Sunday, starting on Monday of this week, it was our best Monday. Just with our players coming in and their attitude and their confidence, and our coaches taking real extreme ownership. We ask our players to do that, and I think for that to be real, I think as coaches we have to do that. And so that was happening on Monday, and then Tuesday was our best Tuesday. And then Wednesday was our best Wednesday, so on and so forth, man. And then so to have it that way, and then to be able to come out with some energy and execution on Saturday is way cool to see. And so I think I give credit to our coaches and our players. I know when was able to get back with them on Monday, just seeing the look in their eyes and the passion that they got. You could feel that they just wanted a path forward. And so I'm glad that we're able to take all that together. West Virginia's a really good team, and I know that they're going to be successful moving forward. There's a lot of things that gave us trouble and I think really stretched us offensively, defensively, and special teams for sure. And so it was a good game. Any questions you guys got?
Yeah, looked like from the start, y'all were throwing deep, y'all were throwing a lot of passes. Why did you feel like that would be effective? Why did y'all go with that plan?
I think just from a start, if offensively, if the safeties were to be back at 15 yards or 12 yards, then I think at that point, just in terms of a math, with just 11 guys being able to play on that side of it, we can run the ball, and then once those safeties start to come down, really you run it to throw it. If the safeties are low, at 8 yards or even at 9 yards, but they're triggering at the snap coming into the box, which is going to be a similar today, starting the game, was a similar approach to what we saw a week ago. If that's the case, then it would just from a math perspective, it would make sense to throw the ball to set up the run. And so I think that's just what you saw. And a lot of the same things we tried a week ago, just with we didn't have the execution that we had today.
Dave, as you walked in, it looked kind of tough to hold back that smile. I mean, in the moment, how satisfying is this?
I'm happy for, like Gary, this is a big game for Gary. I'm happy for Apu. It's a big game for Apu. I think there's dudes that have been really striving and working almost, in the cover of darkness. And I think in our room and in our space, we know them and we see them, and, we value them. But I think for them to kind of share that and for them to put that on display when it really matters, I think is one of the way cool things about this game. And so I'm happy for them. There's others too. Happy for Taekwon. I think it's good for him to have a game like this. I think consistency is always going to be something that he's going to be battling for. And so I think from start to finish, you saw that with him today.
Are the sacks sort of infectious? They seem to come in bunches, and you got a lot of them today, like 6 sacks. What was allowing your line, and then Bernard I think kind of started you off with a big sack.
Yeah, I think really we were able to stop the run was really what started that, and so that there was a hey, this is going to be a run play, or hey, we're defending now a pass play. Whereas I think when you are struggling to defend the run, you can see everything, right? You're not taking anything away, and so I think this is the first game this year where it's clearly stated that we're going to stop the run and put you in passing situations, and I think that freed guys up.
Dave, you mentioned it there that some of what y'all did offensively today was dictated by the defensive looks that West Virginia gave you. Mm-hmm. But does this game show maybe just the potential of this offense?
I think it's a good showcase for Gary and his ability, his calmness, and his ability to connect on whether it's play action passes, shot plays. I think he was able to hit on some swing and outlet routes. I thought he was able to make some yards on the ground with some speed option keeps and some design quarterback runs. And so I think you saw everything from Gary today. And I think he does it without really saying a word. I love that, you know. And so I think his growth and his maturity in that space is going to be huge for us because we're going to lean on him more and more as we get into it. But I think for us to have a game like today and for him to be a central figure in it, I think just gives a confidence, a growing confidence to our team.
What did it mean to have Terrell back? I mean, it seemed like he gave you a lift, and he was in there at times.
I think of like groundedness. I think of being settled. I think of there's one voice, one guy making the call. I think of when you've got Terrell in the huddle and you're looking in his eye, there's a trust and a confidence that you feel. And I know I feel that. And so I have to imagine our team feels that when they're on the field with him. But such a strong care factor. You know, we go through these walkthroughs, so a fair amount of walkthroughs yesterday and then walkthroughs this morning. And, when you're going through a walkthrough with Terrell, and then Petey, too, to a degree, Jalen Petrie, but they're calling out every single play. You know, they're calling everything out. And so I think there's a confidence that comes when you're around that. And so I think for him to be a part of us is important because he's a leader among us.
What about your staff? Because obviously last weekend, you mentioned the next day watching film was tough.
Mm-hmm.
They did too. You talked about the players, but your staff to dial that up today.
Yeah, very proud of him. You know, today's, Ron Roberts' birthday today, so it's a great birthday present. I think these 11 o'clock games, when you get to be an older person, it's nice to, you're waking up early anyways, so you might as well just play a game. And then it gives you the opportunity to watch some football and be a fan. I think it's way cool to be a fan. You know, there's a lot of positives that come with being a fan in front of a TV and all of it. And so I'm happy for Ron, for him to enjoy today. But I think, all of that goes back to Sunday and watching tape and not, I think on both sides, not sugarcoating things, not trying to cover up or hide things, to taking ownership of things. I think it starts there, and I think it has to be that, because our players are too dug in, and they're too smart, and they care too much to know if it ain't real. And so for our coaches to take real ownership of stuff, and then to really work on, we had, I think, 2 or 3 sessions just to correct the stuff that we struggled with on Saturday. So to see that better on the other side of it is good.
Dave, you had the low of last week and the high of this week. How do you level things out going into a top 10 game coming up Saturday, starting right now?
Yeah, no, I feel good. I think, the tide is always going to come in, and then the tide's going to go out again, And so I think for us, it's going to be controlling what we can control. I think it's going to be really focusing on not letting the outside affect the inside. And I think that's always just going to be in, our work ethic. It's going to be in the day that we put put on tape in terms of practice, and it's going to be our leadership. I think. When, this past week's a great example. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm hearing Jalen Petrie and Xavier and Tristan Ebner and everyone, and they're using words that we're using, and they're motivating guys saying, if I'm seeing something prior to me saying something, I've got Ebner saying it, or I've got RJ saying it. And so I think when it's like that, you're on the right track.
A game like this could put y'all back in top 25. Mm-hmm. Is that a cool thing? Are you guys indifferent to that? What?
Yeah, no, I think, what this game was about putting our identity on tape. I think, we had to run the ball and we had to stop the run. We had to play a cleaner game. I think we're still aiming to do that, but I thought there was an effort made to do that. And then we've got to continue to play a complementary game. So if one side starts slow, we need the other side to pick it up. And I thought we were able to hit on a lot of those points today.
When you came in last year, not only did you have to teach the defensive line a whole new technique, but then they were decimated by COVID, you had injuries. Y'all really had to kind of patchwork things on the defensive line last year. They're looking dominant right now. Gabe Hall looked great last week. I know you're going to have to watch the film this week to see if he looked great again, but just clearly just the number of sacks and the way y'all stopped the run, they played well. What are you seeing from that unit, and how awesome is it to have them kind of leading things from up front?
No, I appreciate those comments. I think front-wise, it's difficult. I think there's, I've used a car, truck example. I think so many times as a D lineman, you want to be, whether it's a Corvette or some type of sports car, and I think we're really asking our guys to be Ford F-150s or Chevy trucks, right, and Ram trucks and all this other thing. And so, we've got heavy loads and we're hauling and all of that. And so I think for that process of a Corvette to a Ram truck, it's, that's quite a journey you take. And I give credit to Dennis Johnson, Ron Roberts. They've done a great job of of really defining the vision. And then, I think, both, like whether it's a TJ Franklin or a Gabe Hall or a Cole Maxwell, which was one of our first guys to really kind of grasp what we're asking. And then, Apu really showed up. We've talked quite a bit about 5-man fronts and the 5 guys blocking our 5 guys and the single block with Apu. I think we saw that show up today on some pass protection. And so I think, once we put it on tape and guys see that, hey, this is something that can help the team, I think the buy-in just becomes more and more.
It feels like your defense, it takes a possession for them to really settle in. Why do you think that y'all have had so much difficulty on those kind of first drives? And what do you think maybe you can do to fix that?
That's a really good question. I think I go back, that Oklahoma State game, you go to the start of the game, you go to the drive at the half, and then you go to the drive at the end of the game. And those are probably the 3 most pressurized parts of the game, And so I think that's what it is. I think it's nerves and anxiousness and things. I think we can simplify calls at the start of the game. I think we can get calls in earlier. I think we can, not pay as much heed to what type of personnel or what this or what that. Let's just get a call in and let's just guys feel comfortable and communicate, play fast. And so I think, that was something that we tried to a degree today, and we still have to improve in that area.
Dave, you've obviously seen it, but what was the difference for Apu today? Really made an impact today.
I think if you go all the way back when Apu got here in spring, I think there's a level of play across from him in fall camp that was not up to par to where he was at. And I think we as coaches did not hold Apu to a standard as like we should. And I think we allowed him to maybe rip here or get skinny there, which he can do that, and various shortcuts to play a technique as opposed to, hey, play with your shoulders square, play with your hands, play with low pad level. And I think, I look back at those times, and that was happening in competitive fall practices and spring practices, and offensive line-wise, we just weren't at the level yet to where we could block it effectively. And I think once the O-line progressed, and Apu with kind of the all my chips are on the table type technique, right? It became exposed. I think Texas State was a good example. And then I think, the off the field issues was really kind of you would hope on one side of it, it would be an opportunity to bring everything front and center and, hey, this is what's possible for me. This is the path that I'm on right now. Here's things that I can do to get back on this path. right? There's dudes here that care about me, and they're not trying to lead me astray. So I think that basically commitment, since that point, he's gotten better and better and better. So I'm proud of him.
Just 2 targets for RJ today. How do you get him more involved in the offense?
Yeah, I think some of our 7-man pass pros, where we're getting our RJ at the slot and we're working matchups. If it's 2 high safeties, working him in between the goalposts, and then if it's a 1 high safety, get him breaking out. I think we've got to be able to lean on that more. And then I think the opportunity to get him some quick game as well in the slants. A lot of the slant windows when he was in there was taken away. We went a guy further, and some of those were connecting. And so I think finding ways to get him the 3-step throws, and then really trying to feature him in our 7-man pros is going to be key.
Just how big was that first touchdown to Taekwon, just to be able to kind of get the anxieties of last week kind of off, to know that it wasn't going to be the same?
Yeah, it was good. We talked a lot about starting fast all throughout the week. I think, wake-up call was, 7 a.m. And so generally during, if it's a 2:30 game or a 6 o'clock game, something like that, we are clearly still sleeping at that time, on Saturday. And so, it was early for everyone. Usually Friday night's the one kind of true night of sleep that you get in a week. And so, make it a point to start fast. And, when we came down, we had our little coaches meeting. And when we came down to meet the players today at our hotel, man, they were giving us like a standing ovation. There was all this type of energy in there. So that just told you that they were into it, that they're listening, we're together, we're in this. And so I think Ty's touchdown's a reflection of that. They were ready to start fast.
Everybody's sleeping except Ron Roberts, right?
Dave, there's a difference between practice and the game at some level for every player, but especially for quarterback, that can be a big deal. Y'all named Gary the starter a couple weeks before the season. What's been the thing that has really maybe not so much as we didn't know he could do this, but on that level of surprised you about how effective and how good he's been?
Yeah, I think when I think of Gary, man, I think of just a genuine, great person. I think of someone that knows what it means to be a man of Baylor and to represent it, and someone that loves his teammates, the strong care factor for Baylor football, and will give his right arm for success. And I think, when you're dealing with people like that, I have to imagine in y'all's line of work, you come across people that are like that, and you're just gravitated to them, and you want to not let them down, and you're motivated to work harder when you're around them. And so I think it's always been that way with him since we've been going at this competition. And so for him to win it, and to win it in the way that he did, helping others and trying to bring others up, I think only validated just who he was. And so, these are things that came out today that we had seen, but it's, it's one thing for practice, like you say, and it's another thing in a game. And I think what I love about Gary, I know, is that it won't change his altitude. So he'll be level-headed and attack the next week just like he did this one.
Anything else, Coach?
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dave.